Thank you, Madam Chairman. And just to follow up on those 2 points of Senator Heinrich as well, is that I think it's really helpful to have this hearing that just looks at the issue of immigration through that economic lens. I think that adds just more credibility and thoughtfulness to the whole approach of this issue. And it's one of the reasons, obviously, that people are coming to the United States is for better opportunity. And it's bore out in the statistics, obviously. I remember in Minnesota a couple of years ago, I spoke to an individual who was involved in a software startup company, and he was seeking new software engineers that he needed to be successful and grow the operation. And he ran an ad in the Minneapolis Star-Tribune and came back with 2 qualified applicants. He runs the same ad in the Delhi newspaper in India and comes back with 800 qualified applicants. And clearly there was a disconnect there in terms of having the ability to fill where the work was needed to grow and prosper. And he was able to work something out eventually where he did operations not only overseas, but also grew his operations in the United States, in Minnesota. And I hear other stories from similar employers that go through those exact same situations, that have a tough time filling open spots in terms of STEM, et cetera. And I've introduced legislation in the House side. It's not the comprehensive component, but it is one of the steps on the Staple Act that would exempt foreign-born individuals who have earned a Ph.D. in STEM from the limits on the number of employment-based green cards and H-1B visas annually. And I know Senator Klobuchar's moved forward with similar initiatives as well, and I think that's great, because I think if we can get immigration reform right, we can actually help our economy and close the growth gap, which I know has been a focus of a lot of our hearings in the JEC as well. I just want to follow up with one more specific question on STEM, though, if I could, Mr. Norquist first. And, it's pretty clear that, we're saying if you get educated here and foreign-born folks are educated here, we're sending them back home. They're going back home, and they're becoming our competitors. They're competing against us. In your viewpoint, is there a tipping point? I mean, is there a critical mass where other countries at some point generate either local education systems or entrepreneurial sort of development where there's critical mass, where we will no longer be the destination, where we do have a tipping point, and that critical mass is overseas if we don't act soon?
Well, you certainly see it in certain industries, banking and others. I mean, there are a whole bunch of cities where somebody could cheerfully go to, and it would be almost like living in the United States, but without really cool cable. So I think, yeah, it is a danger, and I think that we're better off making available, if they want to come and be Americans, that opportunity. I was unaware of the legislation to say if you got your STEM Ph.D. somewhere else, come on in. I think that's a great idea. It certainly ups the numbers of folks that could come in, not just the ones who were able to get into schools in the States. But, I mean, that's, I think, an extremely good idea.
Yeah. And, Dr. Kugler, maybe you can expand as well. Going forward, does the lack of STEM workers, what does it mean for a future innovation, for the economy in general, quantifiably? I know the numbers clearly bore out where there are immigrants have contributed greatly towards innovation and the dynamic components of our economy, but what happens if we don't move forward?
So we know from data just from last month that about 17% of employers are unable to fill their vacancies, 36% are unable to find enough qualified applicants, and there are substantial skill gaps in high-tech manufacturing, information, and the health sectors. These are highly innovative sectors, which if they don't have the qualified labor would not be able to continue growing. Many of these people work in R&D and innovative activities, and these would drag back productivity, certainly for the economy. It's very important that in the proposal they have included these exemptions to the H-1B visas from the CAPS for, in particular, doctorates in STEM, for physicians, for those in managerial occupations. And it's very important because the 65,000 cap is being reached continuously every year. It's being talked about in the proposal to increase them to 110,000. But this exemption from these caps is very key because it allows people to come in no matter what and not to have to rely on whether they will make it into that cap that year or not.
Thank you very much. Thank you, both of you. Senator